Okay, so you want to own a Subway franchise. It seems like the most obvious business in the world. They are absolutely everywhere: strip malls, gas stations, airports, regular street corners. You look at that footprint and think, this must be a money printer. And the barrier to entry is incredibly tempting. Most major fast food franchises require you to have millions in liquid assets. McDonald's or Taco Bell want to see massive financial proof before you even apply. Not this sandwich shop. The initial franchise fee is just $15,000. That is absolute pocket change in the franchise world. And building the actual store is remarkably cheap too. There are no deep fryers, there are no massive grease traps or heavy industrial ventilation hoods. You just need some refrigerators, a counter, and a specialized toaster oven. You can often build out an entire location for under $200,000. So you sign the papers. You lease a spot in a busy strip mall. You hire some teenagers to wear green visors and bake bread. Honestly, it feels like a foolproof plan. But here is the thing nobody tells you during the sales pitch: you are not buying into a restaurant business. You are buying into a real estate and revenue extraction machine. And the second you understand how their math actually works, every strange thing about this company suddenly makes perfect sense. Let us start with the official mechanics of your new business. Every week you sell thousands of sandwiches. You collect the cash, and corporate takes their cut. But they do not take a cut of your profit. They take a cut of your gross revenue, right off the top, before you pay for a single slice of turkey. Subway takes a royalty fee of 8%. But wait, there is more. They also take an advertising fee of 4.5%. That is 12.5% of every single dollar that crosses your counter. Gone, instantly. 12.5% is one of the highest corporate cuts in the entire industry. If a customer hands you $10 for a sandwich, $1.25 goes straight to corporate headquarters. You have not even paid for the bread yet. You have not paid the kid making the sandwich. You have not paid the landlord for the electricity running the toaster. That 12.5% is untouchable. And this brings us to the central twist of your new empire. Corporate does not actually care if you make a profit. Read that again. Their business model does not require your store to be profitable. They get paid on top line sales. If you sell $500,000 worth of sandwiches in a year, but your rent and labor costs wipe out all your profit, corporate still walks away with over $60,000 in fees. You go bankrupt and they still got paid. This completely misaligned incentive structure explains the darkest side of owning this franchise: market saturation. If you buy a typical fast food franchise, you get a protected territory. Corporate guarantees they will not open another location within a certain radius. They want your store to thrive so the brand stays strong. Subway historically did not do that. Their growth strategy was to open as many stores as humanly possible. At their peak, they had more locations than McDonald's and Starbucks combined. And they achieved that by letting franchisees open stores right next to each other. You could spend $200,000 building your dream location, build up a loyal customer base over 3 years, and then corporate would let someone else open another store in the very same shopping center, or right across the street, or inside the gas station sharing your parking lot. They essentially forced franchisees to cannibalize each other, because to corporate, it did not matter if your sales dropped by half. Two struggling stores combined sell more total sandwiches than one healthy store. More total sandwiches means more total top line revenue, and more top line revenue means more 12.5% royalties. They turn their own franchisees into each other's biggest competitors. But the extraction does not stop at territory wars. Let us talk about promotions. You probably remember the famous $5 footlong campaign. It was a brilliant piece of marketing that drove incredible foot traffic. Customers loved it. Corporate loved it because gross sales skyrocketed. But for the franchisee, it was an absolute nightmare. Inflation kept pushing up the cost of ingredients, labor, and rent. It cost the franchise owner more than $4 to make that sandwich. By the time you paid the 12.5% corporate fee, you were often losing money on every single $5 footlong you sold. You were forced to participate in a promotion that actively destroyed your profit margin just so corporate could boost their royalty checks. When franchisees tried to protest or opt out, they faced severe backlash from corporate inspectors, which brings us to the inspector system. For decades, corporate used a system of regional development agents. These agents were responsible for recruiting new franchisees and inspecting existing stores for compliance. But here's the structural flaw. Many of these development agents were also franchisees themselves. They owned stores in the same regions they were inspecting. This created a brutal conflict of interest. An agent could walk into your store, find a few minor infractions like a slightly smudged window or cucumbers sliced slightly too thick, and write you up for a massive violation. Accumulate enough of these targeted violations, and corporate could terminate your franchise agreement. You would be forced to sell your store for pennies on the dollar. And who is usually waiting to buy it at a steep discount? The exact same development agent who wrote the violations. It was a system that practically incentivized predatory behavior. You are not just fighting the competitor across the street, you are fighting the structure of the system you bought into. Now, let us talk about the supply chain. You might think that being part of a massive global brand means you get ingredients at rock bottom wholesale prices. That is supposed to be the benefit of scale. But franchisees have frequently complained that they are forced to buy ingredients through approved corporate vendors at prices higher than they could get at a local bulk grocery store. You cannot just run to the store for cheaper tomatoes. If you get caught using non approved lettuce, you lose the store. And the mandatory upgrades are another hidden tax. Every few years, corporate rolls out a new store design. They call it a fresh forward remodel or a modern brand refresh. They want digital menu boards, new lighting, new wallpaper, new seating. It makes the brand look great on television. But corporate does not pay for this remodel. You do. You get a notice saying you have to spend $50,000 updating your perfectly functional store to the new aesthetic. If you do not have the $50,000 in cash, you have to take out a loan. If you refuse, you are in breach of your franchise agreement. So you take on more debt just to keep selling the same sandwiches at the same thin margins. Let us break down the actual numbers for a typical year. An average middle of the road store might generate $400,000 in annual sales. That sounds like a lot of money until you run the gauntlet. First, take out that 12.5% for royalties and advertising. That is $50,000 gone immediately. Now you have $350,000 left. Food costs are going to consume roughly 30% of your gross sales. That is another $120,000 gone. You are down to $230,000. Labor is a massive expense. Even paying minimum wage to a small crew, you will spend about $100,000 a year keeping the doors open. Now you have $130,000 left. Rent and utilities for a prime commercial spot will easily cost you $60,000 a year. You are down to $70,000. Out of that $70,000, you still have to pay for insurance, credit card processing fees, local marketing, cleaning supplies, and equipment maintenance. When the dust finally settles, a typical owner-operator might take home roughly $40,000 to $50,000 in actual profit. For $50,000 a year, you are working 60 hours a week. You are covering shifts when a teenager calls in sick on a Sunday morning. You are dealing with broken toaster ovens and angry customers. You have not bought an empire. You have bought yourself a very stressful, very rigid management job, and you paid a massive premium for the privilege of holding that job. The only way to make real wealth in this system is to own 5, 10, or 20 locations. You scale up to survive on the tiny margins of each individual store. But scaling up means taking on millions in debt, multiplying your risk, and managing hundreds of entry-level employees. If minimum wage goes up in your state or the price of turkey spikes, that tiny profit margin vanishes completely. You are carrying all the operational risk, all the real estate risk, and all the labor risk. Meanwhile, corporate is sitting comfortably, collecting their 12.5% of the top line, completely insulated from the realities of running the store. They built a brilliant business model. It just happens to be brilliant for them, not for you. So if you are looking at that $15,000 entry fee and picturing a seamless path to passive income, you need to read the fine print. You are not buying a license to print money. You are buying a lease on a treadmill where corporate controls the speed and you are the one doing all the running.